Hello and a very warm welcome to the late-breaking F1 podcast presented by Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking, on what is today the Miami Grand Prix preview. Sam, you're off your holiday now, but from swimming in Center Parcs, are you going to go swimming in the marina now in Miami?
I mean, swimming in the marina is tough. I will just look a bit like Patrick the Star when he rides the back of Patrick Swayze, isn't it? No? Who is it? Is it the Hoff? In the film, they ride the back of him as he swims.
Yeah, I'm with you, yeah.
That'll be like me in the marina, just standing on dry land, pretending to swim, going, bang, I'm swimming. That will be me in the marina. Center Parcs is actually swimming. It's got water in it.
And that is actually what Harry Ead's doing tonight. That's why.
Is it really?
Yeah,
is that where he's off to?
He's
he
off to
resembles the Hoff.
Yep.
Hoffy Ead, we call him.
I can't count the amount of times that I've called him that.
And we call his car Knight Rider.
He's gonna be really infused when he hears about this.
Honestly, worst opening to a show for a while. This is.
I don't know. There's some quite bad ones out there.
It's true.
That would be a top 10 ranking one day. Coming up on today's episode, we're playing Fact or Crap a bit later on.
Yes.
I know, right? We're going to be telling you who or what is under pressure with the help of some Discord submissions. Christian Horner, some comments about Daniel Ricciardo and what he needs to do to obtain the Red Bull seat for 2025, and some Mercedes and McLaren upgrades that are coming this weekend. Before we deal with any of that, firstly, let's deal with the breaking news that Adrian Newey is to leave Red Bull in the first quarter of 2025. This is something that we covered in depth on our Sunday episode. That was our lead topic. So if you want our full thoughts on what's happening there, potential destinations, go and check out that episode. But do come back. This one will be quite good as well, I promise. In terms of the move, he'll step back from F1 design for the rest of this season. He's going to be spending more time focusing on the RB17 hypercar. And it appears as if that might lead to no gardening leave, which, of course, would be a massive benefit for whichever team ends up picking him up, if any at all. And as mentioned, we've got full thoughts on that on Sunday's episode. But in terms of this being made official, Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, this might be the most important personnel maneuver in Formula One's history at this point. If you look at, like as I mentioned on the Sunday episode, so you're going to get a little snippet here. If you look at Williams, you look at McLaren, and now you look at Red Bull, the teams that he's left, I imagine that Adrian Newey walks around with a sledgehammer when he leaves, and he just smashes everything to pieces, because the moment he leaves, they never win anything ever again. So I don't know if that's a bad omen. Christian Horner, I'm sure, is hoarding information. I'm sure he's already stolen that little red notepad that he walks around with. Like, you can't have it. Nah, 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 nah. That I imagine.
Then he tries to read it and doesn't understand it.
Probably. It's probably your handwriting, Ben, as well. I imagine that you two are the only people able to read it. I don't mean Bono. I mean you and Adrian Newey.
No, me, Bono, and Adrian Newey. Yeah, we're a tight
Brilliant
group. Yep.
Oh, good. Under the Joshua tree, I'm sure we'll find you all. My point being here that this is such a massive blow. And an article from Autosport has come out already saying that he's not interested in joining Aston Martin, which is quite shocking because a lot of people believe that he's quite settled in the UK, quite happy to stay in the UK. But Ferrari now look like the front runner. And if Freddie Vass has pulled off a Lewis Hamilton and Adrian Newey turnaround in under a season, that would be some of the best negotiating skills I've ever seen. Honestly, if anyone comes to my life, call up Freddie Vass and get him to barter for me because he will win the day. That man is sensational.
All he needs to do now is win a championship. TikTok, come on, Freddie. Jungle is
Still
massive. Yeah, I think at this point, the move itself was essentially a formality because it's been heavily rumoured for the last week or so and somewhat rumoured for months, really, throughout the whole of this season. But what this essentially confirms is that Red Bull could not salvage the situation, which is, as I kind of mentioned on Sunday, is baffling how a team can be so successful on track and be in such turmoil behind the scenes. Clearly, this has been rumbling on for several months, and despite everything that they've been doing on track, they could not save this situation, which is something that will likely hurt them in future seasons. And of course, if there's no gardening leave for Adrian Newey, regardless of where he goes, you can't really express in enough detail like how important that is for whichever team ends up with his services, if any. Because the difference between, if he was to start with a team, say at the beginning of 2026 or March 2026, he would be able to have significant impact on that new car. He would probably turn up day one and spot 5 things that they could be doing differently. But the difference between him doing that and having active involvement in the car 9 months before it hits a track, the difference is ridiculous. And if Ferrari, Aston Martin, whoever it ends up being, can get that from him, that would be so valuable. And look, I mean, the statement that Adrian Newey put out here in conjunction with Red Bull, it doesn't look like he's going into retirement. Now, I know there's a few rumours that maybe his future lies away from F1 and maybe sailing and the America's Cup. I think that's probably the biggest risk to an F1 team right now, rather than straight out retirement. He referenced new chapters, new challenges. That's what you want to hear. If he sounds motivated still.
He's always loved his sailing. He's always loved his boats. You see a lot of it in a lot of the books that he's been part of, a lot of the TV programs he's been mentioned in. He loves his sailing. So 100% a passion project of his that you could definitely see him pursuing. I want to give a shout out. I did this on social media. I want to give a shout out to Big Eddie Jordan, who a lot of people don't know is Adrian Newey's manager, which is a sensational thing. Because you look at Eddie Jordan and you look at Adrian Newey,
it still doesn't make sense, does it?
It's like putting together like a chicken nugget and a chocolate bar, and then put them together, and you go, actually, this chocolate chicken nugget tastes pretty good. And that's how it's worked together. It's like chalk and cheese. But those two have come together, and Newey somehow being organised a contract by Eddie Jordan that is no gardening leave. Well, gardening leave is, the standard, bog standard for any senior official with any team in Formula One. But of all people, Adrian bloody Newey, no gardening leave. Matt's not even going to get his gloves out. No weeding for Adrian. No, he's straight back in the house. Get him on the computer. Get him designing. Eddie Jordan's laughing. Honestly, I don't know how he does it, but that man is a genius.
He's Eddie Jordan, full stop.
He's just bloody Eddie
Jordan. He's Eddie Jordan.
I love him.
And of course, we are interested in the comments in Discord, wherever you want to get in touch. What chocolate bar would you put with a chicken nugget? I don't know. Options are endless, but there's got to be a right answer out there.
Tag yourself.
Mercedes and McLaren. Let's move on to Miami itself coming up this weekend. We know that both Mercedes and McLaren are bringing their first big upgrades of 2024. The Mercedes upgrades, we've already touched on that a little bit before today. McLaren, they brought quite large upgrades last year. You'll remember Austria was a very big upgrade for them. They don't believe that this upgrade will be as significant or as transformative as some of the earlier ones they had in 2023 will be. But even so, both of those teams bring in significant upgrades. What do you think looks like success for both of them?
Mercedes, I think success is it's an odd word to associate with Mercedes right now. And I do think that success is a very small step forward for them. I think if they came away from Miami with the upgrades on and they walked away and they went, okay, we understand how the car works. We've officially understood what isn't good with the car and what is good. And now we can move forward with that. If that's all they gain from this, if they finish 19th and 20th, but they leave Miami and go, we understand, we could go away and alter things, I'll go, it's worth it. You having the worst Grand Prix of your career as a Mercedes team, it's worth it if you then walk away with the car understanding what's the problem. The issue is I don't think they will. I don't think they are going to have any more sense to it. I think they are quite literally shooting in the dark and hoping that they hit a certain target. Who knows? McLaren, on the other hand, they are so genuinely close, touching distance from Ferrari, I think. I think if it swings the right way, they're back in the fight for second place in the championship. Norris is on fire. Piastri needs to improve, but the car is almost there. I just think that with Carlos Sainz not being signed, it's so up and down with how motivated he could be, where he could be. Leclerc's not being on his best form. If McLaren get it right, they can really strike while the iron is hot. And they could see a string of results that put them back into second place in the championship, which would be such a massive turning point over the last 12 to 14 months from McLaren. I'm going to throw it out there. Bahrain 2023, 17th in a DNF. They could be second in the championship within a couple of races if this goes the right way. So it's amazing what the difference in success looks like between McLaren and Mercedes, powered by the same engines, of course. But it really is that stark between the two teams.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you that McLaren's success or lack of success with these upgrades will be more defined by position than Mercedes will. I think with Mercedes, I know I've said this before, but I really think this weekend we are going to get the answer, or they're going to get the answer of, is the car definitively bad, or is the car okay and can be improved? And there's a big difference between those two. It's a crying shame for Mercedes that the better of those two options is it's an okay car that can be improved, but it's a darn sight better than the other option, which is they're pretty stuck for the rest of probably this season and indeed next season. It has been a really rough start to 2024 for Mercedes. Yeah, in 5 races, including one of which being a sprint, Lewis Hamilton has not got enough points for a race win. He's got 19 points.
It's his worst start since what, 2009?
At this point, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any other year you can compare this to. I put this on Twitter earlier, but if we're going back to the last couple of races of 2023, he's got 8 consecutive races without a top 6 finish, and the only ever time he's got 5 of those in a row was back in 2009. So this is groundbreaking stuff for all the wrong reasons. Lewis Hamilton, I mean, if you went to Lewis Hamilton after Bahrain, where he finished 7th and wasn't the lead Mercedes, and said, don't you worry, Lewis, that'll be the best result you get in a race for the next 4 at least. I'm not quite sure what he or anyone else would have said, but at the moment, excluding the 2nd place he got in the sprint race, it's true. He's basically made 9th place his home, which there's 8 positions ahead of 9th. That's not good for someone who's won so many Grand Prix as Lewis Hamilton has. And it's not like it's a Lewis Hamilton issue. It's a Mercedes issue. They are really struggling. And I'm not sure, upgrade-wise, obviously you want as much time to get accustomed to these upgrades as you can. We got another sprint. They're going to get 1 practice session, then they're straight into competitive running. So it remains to be seen, how quickly they're going to get up to speed with what they've got going on. On the other side, McLaren that I mentioned, I think if you were to... I wasn't very impressed with where McLaren started in Bahrain. Now, as you've already referenced, Sam, it's still a darn sight better than where they were last Bahrain. But if we're looking versus second half of last year, I was a bit disappointed with where they were in Bahrain. But they have pretty much improved every single race since that point. So Bahrain, their best finish was 6th with Lando Norris. Then Saudi Arabia, Piastri was 4th. Then Lando Norris got their first podium in Australia. They had Japan, which wasn't brilliant. And then last time out, they finished 2nd with Lando Norris in China. So excluding Japan, you've got 4 races where they have continually built on those performances. I think overall, worst case scenario, or the worst case scenario for what you can call a success, I would say for McLaren is 2 cars in the top 5 with 1 on the podium. I think a best case scenario is probably both on the podium, more than likely 2nd and 3rd, naturally. But I think that's probably the range in which they're looking at to say, okay, we've actually made a step forward with these upgrades, because they're making steps forwards anyway.
What I'm really confused about with both these teams is why they've decided to bring upgrades to Miami. Now, I know that I'm not an engineer. I'm not, my craft is not in designing cars. If it was, I'd earn a lot more money and have a lot more freedom in my life. But why would you bring upgrades to a track that, one, the surface is, again, very unscrubbed. It's very new. It's not used as a racetrack normally. It's not bedded in. We saw with China, which is a bespoke racetrack, just how slippery it was when it got resurfaced. Miami's not far from that. It's not like it gets raced on year round. So tough one to balance that as it is. The weather in Miami as well, really tricky. It can be blazing hot. It can be so muggy and humid. It's, a lot of people call it a swamp. It famously can be very, very damp and very, very hot. And you compare that to a lot of the calendar where it's either just wet, normal wet, but quite cool, or just dry. So I'm really surprised that both teams have brought upgrades to Miami to test them here. And I'm sure Mercedes are really putting their bets on that this might be a game changer for them, to a track that is so unfathomable. And then on top of that, you throw a sprint weekend where you think, like you said, Ben, 1 practice, it's all you get. And if it doesn't work, your setup doesn't work, you've got to make some changes that kind of a bit of a whim. You've got to guess about it. I'm really surprised that both these teams have gone, we'll do it here in Miami, and not brought it to the next Grand Prix, which is a track that, quite frankly, we have so much more data to put upon. Why would you not try it there? I don't know. So I was a bit surprised to see that so many teams this far up the table were looking to bring upgrades.
I'm going to go out on a whim and say that Max Verstappen is probably the favourite going into this weekend. But as mentioned, Mercedes, McLaren both bringing upgrades. Ferrari, who knows, they might still be in the picture as well. Based on that, what are your thoughts on Sergio Perez's weekend to come? Because, he didn't quite get second place in China, but he did get on the podium. Do you expect him to be back on second place?
I think King needs to bounce back, which sounds silly. The man had a podium, but when that was arguably his worst weekend of the season so far, again, you could argue Australia was worse. Like we've been through this on the show, where you haven't got Max Verstappen to compare him to due to the DNF. You don't quite know just how big or small the gap would have been in Australia. So I'm seeing that as an outlier. But China was the worst weekend for him. He was comfortably beaten by the McLaren in Norris. He never got close to his teammate. Like usually he's been within the 10-second mark. That tends to be the average kind of stopper of where he is. But even before the safety car at the midpoint of China, he was well off the pace. He was so far back. And we saw that coming into the Grand Prix as well. So he needs to bounce back in Miami. Second place is definitely on. He had his confidence destroyed here this time last season at Miami, but that isn't to say that he didn't end up actually driving all right for a secondary driver at that team. He picked up second place, finished behind Max Verstappen, brought home the rest of the points that they needed at Red Bull. It is technically some kind of street circuit in its formation, which we know that Perez is Mr. Street Circuit. That is his given name. And if you search his Wikipedia, it comes up as nickname. So he's going to deliver. He's going to be on top here. I think Sergio Perez will hopefully show us the start of the season form that we saw, where he actually was racking up 1-2s from Max Verstappen every time.
Should we handle some bold predictions?
Go on then, mate. You got a jingle?
Or you know I do.
Gather around, little children, and listen to my song about my F1 bold predictions and how they'll all be wrong.
Beautiful. Well, Sam, given you have a massive lead on both myself and Harry, that being 1-0-0, do you want to go first?
Yeah, those of you that are new to the show, you don't realise that we score our bold predictions every single race weekend, the three of us, and you guys get involved as well, submissions on Under Pressure. But we get this right so regularly that after 5 races, the score is 1-0-0. It's going brilliantly for us. I'm going to kick off with 3 red flags across the weekend. That's my bold prediction.
Including first practice, or only practice as well?
No, only competitive sessions.
Okay. All right. 3 red flags. It's an interesting one, that. I mean, it's a street circuit, so you never know. There's a couple of sections in there that it could be tricky. Couple of qualifying crashes, then you might.
I just want a crashy weekend, Ben. Okay, I just want to see some tires flying. Yeah, just put it in the wall somewhere. Don't hate yourself, but go on, mix it up.
I am going with both Minardi drivers, Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda, to score points in the main race.
Okay, well done for specifying. Okay, sure. They're bringing upgrades as well, right?
Yes, which they are hoping will lead them. I was going to save this for the topic that we'll have a little bit later on, but they are hoping that they'll be surfing on top of the midfield. It's actually a quote, which is great.
Hulkenberg, the wave, is holding them up on his shoulders.
Precisely. Well, that makes 2 bold predictions, but we have 3.
Phantom Harry Eid.
Hello, geezers. Sorry I'm not there, everyone. It's just a norm now, isn't it? But, apologies sent once again for missing yet another podcast. Miami GP, my bold prediction for this weekend is that the Sauber Kick Steak Bake, whatever we're calling them this week, team will do a sub 3-second pit stop, because they've not done that all season. So there you go. Sub 3 seconds. I believe in you, Steak Sauber Kick.
They were like 1/10 away from doing that.
I don't want to be that guy, but I kind of don't feel like that's very bold for an F1 team to do it, even though we have seen their previous form.
They were like 1/10 away from doing that in China.
Oh, maybe we'll have to get a public vote on that one, because I feel like he's riding the coattails of success here.
Harry, if you have anything to say in defence, say it now.
We're listening. Hold on.
No? Well, okay. So Harry's disqualified. Good.
It's fair.
Democracy. I love it.
Don't say it up, you don't get to vote.
Right, let's take our first break on this episode. On the other side, Christian Horner and Daniel Ricciardo are live in studio.
Imagine.
Could you
They
imagine?
walked through the door.
Hello, mate. Some comments from Christian Horner about Daniel Ricciardo and what he needs to do to obtain the 2025 Red Bull seat. Obviously, this was spoken about quite a lot towards the end of last season, but talk has died down since Daniel Ricciardo's form to start the year hasn't exactly been stellar. Horner said that Christian Ricciardo? No.
He thanks
Daniel
himself.
Ricciardo, yes. Daniel Ricciardo needs to show head-turning form to get that Red Bull seat. Do you think it's still possible at this point?
I'm going to imitate Ben here and go, no. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Aussies. I'm sorry, Daniel Ricciardo lovers. I love him as well, right? He's the big smiley man, Dang, right? We're all big fans of Daniel Ricciardo, really. He's a PR machine. And if he walks into the room, I'll be on my hands and knees begging him to come on the show because we bloody love him. He's a great guy. But unfortunately, the start of this season, in comparison, especially to how Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda have been doing, and outside talent such as Carlos Sainz, he's knocked himself right down the pecking order. And if you can't be consistent in a new car or in a new team, what's to say you're going to be consistent in a new car and a new team that's fighting for a championship next year that won't have the senior designer that they've needed to create the absolute monster that are these Red Bull cars? You're going to need extra special talent to help deliver that. That's what Max Verstappen is. Daniel Ricciardo has not been good enough, and he was better in China. He was better than Yuki Tsunoda. We're yet to see if that was a one-off. It was an outlier. But, you know, he's got that under his belt. Well done. Unfortunately, no points to show for it. And if that's the way it ends at the end of the season, if we get to race 24 and Yuki Tsunoda's still got, 7 points, something like that, 5 points, and Daniel Ricciardo's still on no points, I'm not going to remember, he was a bit better than Yuki Tsunoda at China, and then he DNF because Lance Stroll drove straight into the back of him. That's not how a season works. That's not how getting seats work. So I think Christian Horner is doing what Christian Horner does very, very well, and it's playing the camera. I think he knows the benefits that Daniel Ricciardo brings. I also think he knows the turmoil that Red Bull are in at the moment internally. They are struggling with their appearance. They are having these PR wars. They've got Ford looking at them eagerly. And Daniel Ricciardo is a powerhouse. He is adored and loved by so many, both inside the team and outside the team. And so by keeping the golden retriever's tail wagging, you think, oh, look, we're all okay. Because the lovely, adorable dog is so happy and he's going to keep running. He's going to keep chasing that ball. And that's what Daniel Ricciardo's doing. He keeps chasing that ball. You never know. You might get some success out of it. You might get it back. But if you don't, at least you tried. So that's what I think is happening at the moment. I generally think they're just going, good job, Daniel. Keep going. That's all right. Because come race 5 of a 24 race season, they don't want the PR man, Dan, to be miserable and not interested.
Yeah, that wouldn't work out for them. I think at this point, he'd need to be an 8 out of 10 at every race, pretty much, from now until the summer break to have a chance. Yeah. And with some probably 9 and 10 out of 10 sprinkled in there. For reference, the three of us combined on our Power Rankings episodes, which you can catch if you go on our Patreon, top tier, we have him average rank at 4.4 so far this season.
That low?
Yeah, so it's not quite 8. He'll need to pick it up, I think, quite a lot. I think at this point, consistently good, not enough. Consistently great, maybe not enough. I think he needs to be close to consistently excellent. Because with Sergio Perez's form the way that it's been, which has been fairly good, I think they're in a position where they'd probably rather not take a risk unless they have to. I don't know how connected these things will be, but with Adrian Newey confirmed to be leaving and Helmut Marko nearly being suspended a couple of races ago and Max Verstappen, that speculation hasn't completely died down, Christian Horner might just turn around and go, you know what? I wouldn't mind just a known quantity. I wouldn't mind just something I know what I'm going to get with Sergio Perez. I know what I'm not going to get, but the point is I know it. And he might just want a consistent from season to season where it looks at the moment like the team itself is in turmoil. That might play into things as well. And Sergio Perez, he's not giving Daniel Ricciardo the case like he was doing last year. So if you cast your mind back to Mexico, Daniel Ricciardo put together a great performance at Mexico. Sergio Perez definitively did not. And there was quite a lot of chatter after that Grand Prix. And the reason was because you had both elements at the same time. You had Daniel Ricciardo performing very well, and you had Sergio Perez not performing very well. At this point, though, Sergio Perez, at least to this point in the season, isn't giving Daniel Ricciardo like his half of the argument. So Daniel Ricciardo, even if he's performing excellently, it's not against what Sergio Perez has been doing negatively. I don't know. I think the statement itself, at least when I initially saw it, my instinct was this is not necessarily a statement for Daniel Ricciardo. I thought this was a statement for Sergio Perez to basically say, look, you've done a great job to this point, but don't rest on your laurels. Everything else that Christian Horner said as well adds up with that, in that he said, we're in a privileged position. He said, we're not going to rush into things. It's all basically telling Sergio Perez, good job thus far. We need to see more of it before we're willing to commit ourselves to a decision. So I think the chances that Ricciardo could get in that seat are slim, but I think this was more of a, hey Sergio, there are others around. This is a wanted seat, so you need to stay on it.
Yeah, totally fair. And the other thing that, of course, Daniel Ricciardo relies on, which I kind of talked about heavily just then, is his marketing appeal, is his sponsorship appeal, is the fact that, people bloody love him, and rightly so. But Sergio Perez is no slouch when it comes to his marketability. If you look at the Hispanic market, you look at South America, you look at Mexico, Red Bull currently is the leading energy drink sold in those regions, right? That is a gigantic market for marketing outside of what is a typically English and very European focused team that is Red Bull. So why not maximize Sergio Perez, who is delivering what you need? He's second in the championship. He's picking up 1-2s. You're right to keep him motivated. You're right to say, hey, you're doing a good job, but you muck it up and it could easily go somewhere else. And at the same time, they sell a hell of a lot more cans. Their brands get way bigger in those markets and they make more revenue. Well, it's a win-win situation. Daniel Ricciardo is not the only person that can sell Red Bull cans off the shelves.
In terms of Minardi, as you mentioned, they are bringing upgrades to this race, as well as the likes of Mercedes and McLaren. And as mentioned, they are looking to be surfing on top of the midfield. What do you think? Again, similar question to what was posed with Mercedes and McLaren. What do you think they're looking to get from this weekend?
I might put that in our bio, late breaking, the podcast surfing on top of the midfield. We're
not that good.
No, that's true. We are the wave. Everyone uses us to get a leg up. So what do I think they could do? It's a tricky one, because if you look around where Minardi are, where RB are, you've got Haas, right? Now, Haas aren't bringing anything to Miami. So in theory, okay, they want to take a step forward from Haas. Okay, that will be a success story for them. If they can distance themselves, so their two cars are finishing 10th and 11th every single Grand Prix for the next few until some other teams around them bring them points. The difficulty for them is Fernando Alonso is a machine. So Aston Martin David need upgrades, and that man will do everything he can to score points. He is the upgrade. You just inject more Fernando into your life and you get better. Lance Stroll is irrelevant. So sorry, they're going to beat him regardless if they have upgrades or not. But the problem here is if Mercedes are bringing upgrades and they work, then that's a team, I can't believe this, a team directly around Minardi are also moving forward. McLaren currently in the table are the next team in front of them. If we're ignoring Aston Martin, they're moving forward. So it feels like, okay, they're bringing these upgrades. Unless they're sensational upgrades, unless they've taken a lot from Red Bull, unless they are harnessing the power of Adrian Newey and the sister team, I don't know what more they can really gain. I don't know how much further they can set to find themselves. Now, we heard the marketing spiel in the off-season of, we want some top fives. We're going to be fighting for podiums. We're always going to be in the points. None of that has come to fruition. No double points finishes, almost as many no points finishes as they have single points finishes. It's not been the success story that they thought it was going to be with this full rebranding. They need to get both cars in the points. That is where they go, okay, we're taking a good step forward. We're scoring points now. We're fighting alongside the likes of Aston Martin and Mercedes. We're getting there. but it's still a tricky task. I don't know what you think is going to happen with them, but it's not exactly something that you can just snap your fingers and make happen, clearly, because they would have done it by now.
Yeah, I think what they're looking to achieve from these upgrades, and I mean, they'll take more than this if it's available, but I think it's a consolidation of that 6th place to essentially give their drivers more leeway. So I think at the moment, we'd agree, and most people would agree, that they are the 6th fastest team on the grid, but the gap between 6, 7, 8, even down to 10 really, is not all that large. Therefore, whenever one of their drivers makes even a small error, it is punished, rightfully punished, by the drivers around them. So examples of that so far this season would be Yuki Tsunoda at Saudi Arabia getting stuck behind Kevin Magnussen, or Daniel Ricciardo not able to extract a lap in Q2 and qualifying 14th. So whenever they make a small error, it is being capitalised upon by all the other teams. I think what they'd be looking to achieve through these upgrades are to be a strong, again, surfing on top of the midfield, a strong 6th place, to the point where Daniel Ricciardo could be a 10th off of his optimal time in Q2 and still make Q3. Or, you know, like you said, really, just consistently around 10th and 11th place where they do have that separation. So that, yeah, their drivers don't necessarily need to be 100% perfect to stand an opportunity of scoring points. I think what we saw from Yuki Tsunoda at Australia, they want to see that more consistently rather than as a one-off. I think it's unlikely that they'd catch anyone above them because the gap between 6th and 5th is probably the biggest gap on the grid outside of the gap between 2nd and 1st. So, yeah, I don't know if they'll move up any positions, but consolidating 6th would be a good step.
What's going to be interesting to see is if these upgrades benefit one driver more than the other. Of course, they have different driving styles. We heard very much that Daniel Ricciardo was unhappy with his chassis, got a new one. Again, I mentioned this in the last podcast. If you haven't listened, go and check it out. But sports people can be super superstitious. He's not a little stitious. He's superstitious. And, you know, it is sometimes a case of changing your pants and you're flying. But sometimes there might be a problem. And if this upgrade is more centered towards how Yuki Tsunoda likes to drive, then actually we might see a real problem where Daniel Ricciardo does fall backwards. Equally, it might flip the scales. And Daniel Ricciardo now might be the machine. He might be unlocked. He might be, you know, the honey badger that he wants to be once again, scoring points every Grand Prix. It's going to be really interesting to see if they almost strip away a bit of a balance that we've been seeing over the last couple of races.
It'll be like when Valtteri Bottas had his version 2.0, version 3.0 stage. It's Daniel Ricciardo version 2.0 in Miami.
What was the quote that Valtteri Bottas came over the radio with? Was it around Hockenheim that he said it?
I can't. I vaguely remember.
It was quite embarrassing.
Yes, it was.
It's something like we're here to fight or something like that, and it really didn't work out well for him.
Hey, I mean, they'll be doing 2.5-second pit stops according to Harry this weekend, so they are in luck. They're going to be firing. Should we do? And I have to get this right. Sprint pole, sprint win, pole 1, 2, 3.
I think we should do sprint pole, sprint wing, pole 1, 2, 3.
By the time you get to the end of it, it'll be the end of the episode.
They're longer than Stauber's pit stops.
They are, which is impressive. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Sprint pole, it's going to be dull. Max Verstappen. Sprint win, I think, will be Max Verstappen. Pole, I think, will be Max Verstappen. But I'm going to say that the wing is going to be Sergio Perez. I think he's going to bounce back and win it, baby. Maybe I should have said that was my bold prediction.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Anyway, Sergio, do me proud. You're going to win. And then I think that Max will be second. Don't know why.
Sure.
No, actually, take that back. He's going to be one of the reasons for the red flag. It's going to be a problem because there's no way that Perez is beating him on pace. I'm sorry. Perez wins. Leclerc second. Norris third.
Standard. Love that. Well, it was standard up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Then full chaos. I'm going to go sprint pole, Max Verstappen.
Right.
Sprint win, Max Verstappen.
Good.
Pole position, Max Verstappen.
Fantastic.
Hey, fancy another one?
Win, Max Verstappen.
Whey!
I'm actually just going to go with a repeat of the Chinese podium. Lando Norris second, Sergio Perez third.
Was that a snap moment, was it? Where you put the card down and then immediately slap the other on top of it?
Exactly.
Good. Has the missing agent submitted something for this?
Harry,
I've just realised that the pole 1, 2, 3 is a sprint weekend as well, and I can't remember the order we do this in. So
It's the order of the weekend.
sprint pole.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's start with that. Sprint pole will be Max Verstappen.
Good.
Sprint win. Yeah, Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
The normal quali pole, Max Verstappen. Race win, Max Verstappen. Second place will be Charles Leclerc, and third place will be Sergio Perez. I really hope that was right.
He's done something right. Well done, Harry.
I love how he's working that out on the fly. Like every single one is preceded by something like, or yeah, like he's proper thinking about it as he goes.
That's how he lives his life, that man. He lives on the fly. The guy doesn't know what he's going to say and hopes he finds the end of his sentence as it comes out of his mouth. And a lot of the time, he's more right than I am. So it's worked from so far.
It has. Fortunately, it's not the last we'll hear of Mr. Harry Yee because he has put in an under pressure submission. We'll get to all of those right after this. Okay, here we go. Under pressure for this Miami Grand Prix weekend. It can be anyone or anything. And we've got some Discord submissions, as we always do. If you'd like to be involved, get in the Discord. And a couple of days before these preview episodes, we ask for these 30-second or so submissions, and we'll play some out. But before we get to those, we've got our own. So, Sam, who or what is under pressure?
Do we not have a jingle for this? I'm pretty certain we have an under pressure jingle. Good. It's the technical difficulties music, everyone. That means that Ben's got something wrong. And you're now here with me while I have to watch Ben work it out on the fly.
I'm just looking to see if I've got one.
This is Podcasting 101.
No.
No. Good. Okay. If we haven't got one, and Harry hasn't got one actually saved, then why don't you... Oh, aren't we looking for an under pressure jingle? Haven't we got submissions for under pressure jingles coming in? Didn't I say that? Was that for a different game? Oh, that was for the hey, show us your options.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of those. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, under pressure is going to be Ferrari, because I have never felt more disappointed about a livery reveal
here we go.
in my life.
Here we go.
I loathe it entirely. Honestly, that shade of blue with that shade of red is vile. It's disgusting. And I'm sorry. Don't tease blue all night long. Don't give me the Miami vibes. Don't get those lovely boys walking around in those baby blue shirts, which I was so close to buying, despite it breaking the bank account. They look so gorgeous. And I was so envious. And then you submit this bloody photo of a red nose with a blue wing, and you're telling me there's bloody red on the car? I am fuming. Actually fuming about it. So I hate it. Take it back. Run the red car. Or give me a yellow one, which you still haven't given me, despite it being 3 years now. So, yeah, they're under pressure. Have a good result, because that car is vile, and you need to do something to make up for it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Good.
I kind of knew... I mean, I knew that they weren't going to go away from the red, but I at least thought they'd be able to make it look all right, and I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate it. I proper hate it. Yeah, I haven't really got anything else to say on it.
Side note, Kirsty doesn't mind it.
Yeah. There
Terrible
is
taste.
massive dollop of irony in this, though, that, Sam, you hate it for not being blue enough, whilst also lambasting every other team on the grid for being too blue.
They're the only team. It's a special livery.
I know, it's
okay.
great. Yeah.
I do hate the constant blue theme we have on the grid.
Yeah. My under pressure. As a spoiler, there are a couple of Discord submissions that pick on a particular driver from this team, but I'm going with the team as a whole. Williams. It's been a rough start to 2024 for Williams. I mean, Alex Albon, I know points are hard to get for all of those teams at the moment, but Alex Albon had 27 points last year. He's currently sat on none. Obviously, Sargent's got none. If you add those two together, you get none. Thing is, I mean, Albon's been fairly consistent to this point. So he's been in the top 12, 3 of 5 races. So he's not that far away from points. My main issue with Williams to this point has been, has anything stood out about them this year? Like, can you point to one thing, like one result, one lap, one qualifying attempt, whatever it might be? Can we point to anything and say they jumped out at you, like out of the screen? I couldn't tell you one significant thing that has happened this season for them.
Did he make an overtake at China?
Yeah, sure.
No, it's not good then, is it?
I don't know. It's even last year when they weren't brilliant. Yeah, there'd be a Q3 lap in there somewhere, or they would still stand out. Like they had their calling card, which was they were really quick in a straight line, and it didn't work out brilliantly well for them every weekend. Naturally, they only scored 27 points, but or Albon only scored 27 points, but there was still something here. There's just not. There's been a lot of nothing from them this year.
What's Pat Fry been cooking up? Bloody raw chicken.
It's burned.
No one wants to
No,
eat that.
It's
thanks,
raw.
Pat. Yeah, it's raw.
Let's get that in there. And go on, Harry.
My under pressure for the Miami GP is Formula One / Miami. The Miami. Oh God, I can't speak. The Miami
Sorry,
GP itself. For two reasons. Both these entities need a banger of a race. Formula One needs a bit of a banger. I mean, this year we've had a couple of all right races, but nothing groundbreaking. I think F1 needs, especially for its North American market, it needs a banger. Miami needs a banger to prove that it's not a waste of space, which we all believe, not all, but which I believe it is. So yeah, F1, Miami GP, under pressure. Please, please, please deliver a banger.
Go on, Miami. Harry
He's not
told
wrong,
you.
is he? He's
No,
not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Equally, if you heard some noise during Harry's submission, I apologise. I accidentally opened our YouTube video for the last video that I uploaded by accident. So that's a plug. Go watch us on YouTube.
That is the most innovative plug I've ever heard. Playing your own YouTube videos as part of the podcast. We're changing the game here, Sam. Let's hand it over to some Discord submissions. Again, thank you very much to everyone who put in a submission, and we've only got time to play some of them. But we will start with Brown 30.
Hey guys, Brown 30 with submission number 5. Under pressure this week, going to say it's Logan Sargent. Home race in his home state. Hasn't done well to start the season. I think he needs a finish of P12 or higher. I'm wishing him the best of luck and I hope he comes through. Probably not likely. You guys are awesome as always, except when you're talking about potatoes, so stop it. And join the Discord.
Oops.
Sorry.
We'll leave potatoes alone for a little while. I appreciate as well with the under pressure submission here is like giving them an actual target. I mean, most people just say they're under pressure. Brown 30 is like, that's what you got to do.
Maybe they should do the podcast.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Let's go to Joe next.
What's up, boys? This is Joe coming from Memphis 10, home of the world's
Hello,
10th
Joe.
largest pyramid. So there's a fun fact for you. But under pressure this week is all of us, everybody except for Aston Martin and Lance Stroll. He won't leave. They won't kick him out of a seat. So maybe it's up to us as fans, the media, pundits, literally everybody to maybe not bully him out of Formula One, but suggest other things like speed reading, Rubik's Cube competitions, something like that. We got to get him out of here. Bye.
I love the idea that driver positions are worked out by who can solve a Rubik's Cube the fastest.
Who do you think would win?
Me.
On the current grid, who would win?
Oh. Alonso, probably.
He would, wouldn't he?
He would
Of course
just
he would.
He'd have some secret formula that he knows how to do it.
You know, I bet he's never done one before.
No.
But he just does it the first time and he wins.
I can pick it up and just go, don't know how I did that.
God. Why does everything come so naturally to you, Fernando? Let's go to Virgil next.
Hey y'all, it's Virgil. Under pressure for Miami is the track. The track, it's a real problem. It's actually garbage. Me personally, I've seen dirt ovals out in Alabama produce better racing. It's an embarrassment to my home state of Florida and all the fantastic tracks we have here. But no, they just had to go and build a new track in the parking lot of a mediocre football team's stadium. That checks out. Good job, F1. Anyway, love y'all. Love the podcast. Bye.
If anyone would like to take me to a dirt oval out in Alabama, that sounds like a good... That's also... Don't clip that. But equally, sounds like fun.
Yep. Nice burn for the Miami Dolphins as well. So sorry, any fans out there. Let's go to Trekkin next.
Right. First time submission.
You got
I'd
this.
say my under pressure is Piastri. Granted, I know he had damage last race, but I don't think he really had the race pace he needed. And then not a very great drive in Suzuka either, I would say.
Yeah, could do with a result, couldn't he?
I'm a little bit worried about him.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. If this keeps going, 5 in a row at the moment is not good. He's had a whole season now. He's had time to bed it in. It needs to start. The trend needs to start going up.
Let's hear from Beef.
Hello, hope you're all well. I've been a busy bee. I'm off work all of next week. Got lots of plans. Can't wait. Went to my nan's 90th on the weekend. It was popping, and I also got a tattoo. It's of a cat. If you want to see it, it's in the Discord. Under pressure is. Oh my god, I've literally just thought of this. Oh, it's Mercedes, because you got upgrades coming and they can need to work. Okay, bye.
Happy birthday to Nan.
Yeah, Nana Beef.
She's a top tier Patreon subscriber.
And love the tattoo.
Oh, Ben, did we do April birthday shout outs for the Patreon?
Of course we didn't.
Oh, crap. Okay. Sorry, everyone. We have to do those. I was on holiday.
Let's go to Brenton.
Hello, gentlemen. Brenton here, coming to you all the way from North Florida, about 5.5 hours away from the Miami Grand Prix. Turning the big 4-0 this weekend, so that's exciting. My under pressure for the race is Lance take a stroll around the racetrack for obvious reasons. I mean, we all know Daddy Alonso is going to score more points than you anyway, but maybe just not run into the back of someone and have a clean race. Thanks, guys. Love the podcast.
Happy 40th to you, sir.
Happy birthday. Not part of the Patreon birthday shout outs.
All good. Always.
Highly breaking. I'm recording this on Labor Day, so happy Labor Day. Firstly, just want to say hi to Mama Sage. Lots of love for you. Under pressure. Gotta be Logie Bear. I mean, it's your home race. Just don't finish last. That's all I ask, really. Anyway, love you guys with the podcast. Bye.
Is Labor Day just a normal work day? We have Labor Days. I've got to go to work.
I'm just going to not say anything.
I have a idea.
Let's go with that. I like that.
A lot of my stupidity is definitely put on, folks.
Well, we had Labor Days.
I went to work every day.
Last submission, we'll go to Willow.
Hello, boys. Just got off a 16-hour shift, so I'm feeling a little bit spicy. But my under pressure for Miami is the not-so-mean Green Machine Sauber. They need to do better because after the Chinese Grand Prix, I had one of the worst hangovers of my life due to the amount of Valtteri Bottas sympathy beers I consumed. So for the sake of my liver, please do better. Get your rear in gear. Bye.
Get your rear in gear. It's such a great slogan.
It is great. And really hope the hangover is okay after they mess up 4 more pit stops.
Bumper stickers might need to be brought out.
That's it for Discord submissions. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted. We'll be back in the review with more. We'll be asking for moment of the race. Let's move on to Aston Martin. They're seeking to overturn the penalty that Fernando Alonso received in China. They're seeking a right to review, which I believe is happening this Friday. Any chance this gets overturned, Sam?
This one was really interesting. We kind of discussed this on the race review episode where the penalties feel like for that Grand Prix, they were all over the place. It felt like, no matter the contact, no matter who rang someone off, no matter what the result was, there was no consistency there. Now, a reminder that Fernando Alonso came together with Carlos Sainz, and Sainz had some damage occurred, but Alonso ended up picking up a puncture from the damage and retiring from the Sprint Grand Prix. And then I think he picked up a 10-second time penalty and 3 penalty points. Now, my first problem with this, before they even got challenged by Aston Martin, was the penalty point situation. I was confused why Fernando Alonso, in a wheel-to-wheel racing incident under green flags, where mistakes happen, these things happen, got more penalty points than Lance Stroll got for driving into the back of Daniel Ricciardo under safety car conditions, when the blame was very clearly on the driver behind anyway. So that confused me as a starting point. And I think what they're trying to do here is remove the penalty points that Alonso's got, because currently as it stands, he's on 6 of the 12. Now, if you pick up 12 in a 1-year period, you get a 1-race ban. There's a lot of Grand Prix coming. So the chance of him picking up some points across the season, it's pretty strong. It could happen. So they're trying to remove these points, I believe. But when you look at the other instances that happened, Sainz ran Leclerc off the road pretty much later on in that Grand Prix. And there are multiple other instances as well where drivers were rung off. And a lot of these were just noted, just only noted. Now, that makes me think, are the stewards giving the penalty that Alonso picked up based on the damage caused? And if that's the case, that means they're giving penalties based on the consequence. Okay, well, if they're giving penalties based on the consequence, then why did they bother with the time penalty? Because Alonso had already retired when that penalty had been given, meaning that the penalty was worthless anyway, and the penalty points don't stand to do anything as it is. I don't know, Ben. This one just feels like it's so all over the place that I do think the penalty could have been fair if they'd stuck with a consistent penalty ruling for other drivers being pushed off the track. But also, they never gave a penalty to anyone else pushing other drivers off the track. So this feels harsh. It feels like he's been overly punished for something that I think, quite frankly, on a difficult track, the surface was all over the place. Yeah, contact was made. Someone probably should have been penalised. But this feels like it was over the top. I can totally see why they want to get this one rescinded.
And all of that might well be true, but I think the chance that this gets overturned is very low, just based on. Again, they're seeking a right to review on Friday. So the FIA is not reviewing the incident at the moment. The whole point in this meeting on Friday is to determine should it be reopened at all. And generally speaking, the only way in which the FIA decides to re-review instances is if they are presented with new substantial evidence. I can't possibly think what Aston Martin have that the stewards didn't have when they made that decision. Maybe they do have something up their sleeve, but it seems unlikely. It's pretty rare for these sorts of things to be overturned, just based on, again, it's got to be new substantial evidence for the stewards. And the stewards aren't going to overturn anything unless they are like 100% certain that it needs to happen, because let's face it, if they have to overturn something, it's an embarrassment for the FIA, because either they didn't have all the evidence at the time, that's kind of embarrassing, or they did have all the evidence at the time but didn't make the right decision. That's embarrassing as well. So I feel like the FIA is only going to cause that embarrassment to itself unless they are backed into a corner and they have to make a decision. And I don't think this, again, unless Aston Martin have something that was not yet seen, I just don't know what they could possibly have. As you say, the penalty itself, like the 10-second penalty, it's pointless because he was retired anyway. But it's about the penalty point system. As you rightly say, he has 6 points on his license. You can't get 12 within a 12-month period, otherwise you get a one-race ban. And of course, he got 3 points, as you say, for this instance. The other 3 points he got was from the crash that he had with George Russell at Australia, which essentially means, given the points stay on your license for 12 months, he is going to have 6 points on his license as a minimum from now until whenever the Australian Grand Prix was this year, next year. So next March, basically. So a couple more instances, and that's it. That's Alonso getting a one-race ban. So you can understand why Aston Martin want to get rid of that. I think it was a ridiculous... The penalty... I was fine with the time-second penalty, but the penalty point issue was weird. You've compared it to Stroll's one, which I think is a very valid comparison, and in not understanding it, even compare it to Alonso's one from the race before in Australia. Now, I was of the opinion that was not a penalty on Fernando Alonso, what happened in Australia. But if you do think it was a penalty, as the stewards did, surely that rates as far more dangerous. Because I said that's what they came down on him for, right? You have essentially changed what you're doing on a certain lap and caused danger to a car behind you because of that. And that's worth the same amount of penalty points as a brushing of wheels, as was the case in China. Again, I don't think the penalty in Australia was a worthy one, but if you do, I don't know how the two can be... I don't think the two are the same.
No, I completely agree with you, and I wanted to bring that up. The fact that we as a show, I think, collectively agreed that Alonso's penalty was a bit farcical. It was quite clear from the onboard replay cameras that he did something perfectly. I think it was fine. I think he was fine with it. But you're right. The penalty that he was given is exactly the same as the penalty he's given in China. No contact was given in Australia, but the FIA the stewards chose the ruling that he endangered someone. Okay, But wheel-to-wheel action where it's on a slippery track and something's gone slightly wrong, which is going to happen in so many Grand Prix, is worthy of 3 penalty points. It's a really odd ruling, and they seem to once again, they've come into this new season saying that they've changed how they're giving out penalties, and they're still so inconsistent, it's hard to follow what's meant to be right and what's meant to be wrong. So I think they won't get overturned, but I do think they've got every right to turn around and say, this doesn't make sense. This isn't okay. We don't deserve this. And I stand by their decision on that front. And the stewards, again, need to be consistent. We are more consistently calling them out about being consistent than they are about being consistent.
Yeah, that is, as on the surface confusing as that sentence is, it's 100% right. Anyway, let's take our final break on this episode. On the other side, we're playing Fact or Crap.
Yes.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the final part of today's episode, which of course means Fact or Crap.
Fact or crap. Fact or crap. Fact or crap. Fact or crap. Fact or crap. Yay!
I was going to try and do that at the same time as you, but I know on the recording back it would be misaligned, and that would cause
be like a
Kirsty
round robin.
a 3-hour headache.
Yeah,
exactly. Fact or crap, very simple game. We've got 3 statements, and it's the job of myself and Sam to say whether they're fact or whether they're crap. And we're going to start with Logan Sargent. This will be Logan Sargent's last race in the USA. Is that fact or crap?
Ooh. I think that's crap. I think Papa Vowels, Big Pat Fry, cooking up a storm. I've got too many other things to deal with than having a mid-season driver change. I think he'll make it to the end of the season. I do believe this will be his last season in Formula One at this point. It's not been good enough. But yeah, I think he'll get Dakota.
Yeah, I have also gone with crap on this. There's a lot of chatter about Antonelli as soon as he turns 18, getting him in that seat. But if you're Williams, I know I've mentioned this point countless times before, but if you're Williams, the only reason you're signing Sargent this year is based on his potential, not based on his current ability, because that would be ridiculous. You have hired him based on what you think Sargent could be, in which case, what is the point in giving him half a season more? Like, there would just be no benefit to that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they'll give him the full year, so I've gone with crap. Next one. Adrian Newey will win multiple titles with whoever his next team is. Fact or crap?
Oh, you kept it vague with whoever his next team is. I believe in the Airbender, though. I believe that he can shape time and space with just his eyes. So, yeah, I'm going to fact. I think he will deliver the goods for whoever picks him up.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, firstly, we don't know where he's going. Secondly, we don't know how long he'll be there if he goes anywhere. And I think that's probably going to be the bigger restriction. Is guys in his mid-60s. We don't know whether it will be a sort of couple-year deal, 5-year deal, 10-year deal. It's unlikely to be any more than that, I would suggest. If he does go to Ferrari, there's a reason they haven't won in so long. So I'll say he will win a title, but it won't be multiple. I'll go with crap.
It's been 17 years.
Yeah,
it's that long.
Damn.
I was 12.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Soon enough, we will have someone on the grid that has never been alive for a Ferrari title. Last one on Fact or Crap. Miami will benefit from being a sprint weekend. Fact or crap?
Oh, no, it's a load of crap. That track's going to be absolutely revealed for how bad it is. I think more racing around this we call it a racetrack, is just going to expose it even further for being dull. You know, when you're not good at something, you want to show that off as little as possible. I know. That's why sometimes I don't talk as much on this show. So when Miami has extra racing taking place, you think, oh no, it's like me doing a solo podcast all on my own. It's going to expose me for what I am, a fraud. Miami, I'm sorry. You're good at a lot of things, but this racetrack is not one of them.
Yeah, I've gone with triple crap for these 3. Yeah, I completely agree. Racing is racing, and if it's a good track, it will generally be a good track for sprints and the main race. If it's a bad track, it will be bad for both. The only, potential saving grace is with so many teams bringing upgrades, is there a chance that they aren't going to get it quite right for the first race, but then somewhat get it right for the second race? I think that's potentially exciting, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say crap.
The worst part is it's going to be blazing sunshine for the entire weekend as well.
Yes, this was a point that I was going to bring up, is that the temperature and the weather from pretty much like tomorrow through until Sunday is just identical. That's sometimes where you can get interesting sprint races, is if it presents completely different conditions to the race
China
itself.
did that.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks like it will be identical across the whole weekend.
Yeah, it literally could not be worse off for Miami. Like a sprinkle of rain would have done them a world of good. They're not getting it. It's going to be pure sunshine. We'll have some. I'll take some of that sunshine over here because it's miserable.
Now, there is one more fact or crap that I've got, a bonus one, which is late breaking has the greatest segment in all of Formula One podcasting. It's a fact. It is
the LB question of the week.
Go on, Harry. Where are you? Go on, Harry. Say it. Yeah,
Best be having you.
Can't hear you.
You silenced him now, Ben. You've got him.
Yeah, got him. It was a bit of a visual question of the week, because the question itself was, what is Sam dancing to? Naturally, I can't now do the video itself, but it's essentially just Sam dancing. And there were some very funny suggestions, as always. Any that stood out to you?
Yeah, I'll say it because it's this podcast. But Nikita said on Instagram that I had a really good poo.
I knew you were going straight for that.
That is how it feels. Okay, we've all been there. It does feel great.
I was scrolling down. I was like, yep, that'll be the one. That'll be first.
Yeah, of course it would be. Callie's annoyed me by writing this one. Ben pronouncing Spagbol correctly. She spelt Spagbol wrong, ironically making it sound Spagball, which is very annoying.
So she's just asking for me to do what I always do.
Yeah.
Say it right. Okay.
No.
Fine.
Actually going to throttle you. I can't find where it is now, but someone said that I went to Club Otmar, and I found that really funny. That
Club Otmar?
Yeah, I'm going. That sounds like a great night.
Hey, I'm all on board for that. A couple that I liked as well. A couple of people said this, including Quinn and Lloyd and Mark. A team announcing news before the boys record, which is very accurate. Niche 95, he's imagining himself winning bold predictions. There was another bold prediction one as well from Mike, which was he knows Gasly has been outclassed by Ocon so far, but since neither has scored a point, he's still got a chance to win teammate wars.
Yes.
John Burko order remix.
Banger.
A few people said that. Says Books had a good one. The Italian national anthem, certified bop.
Oh, is it the best or is it the best national anthem ever made?
I think it's the best.
It is so good.
I've got a couple from Twitter as well.
Yeah, go for it, because I've just read one on Twitter that's just made me question a lot of things.
John Boy's got a very good point here. He said he realised the late-breaking Patreon is only £9 a month, whereas the content, he assumed it would be over £250.
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad that.
It should be that expensive, but it's not.
No, good on us, eh?
The one that made me question things was from Sandal Footbum, who said, finding out online women aren't pregnant. Equally great sentence, equally great Twitter name.
Yeah, I don't know which is better.
And then this is a great reference to the
I
Peep
knew you were
Show.
going to say this.
So thank you, Samuel. Restarting Rainbow Rhythms as an introductory service for Jing House and Adrian Newey. That is so Rainbow Rhythms.
Jeremy.
That's not very Rainbow Rhythms. This podcast is so Rainbow Rhythms.
It really is. Any last ones? I do have to shout out. Raf said this. Live, laugh, Latifi. Love you, big man.
I love that big man. Sorry, I just got to give him the credit. Johnny McDonald said Sam just got back from Club Otmar. I've just seen it, and you deserve the shout out. Bristol Liam said, Order, order. Credit John Burko, the remix. So I've got respect for it. Ben's actually trying to find the jingle, folks, but it's going to cause dead air. So now I've got to talk over the awkwardness of him trying to. No, good. Twice in one show. This one's been a real mess. Maybe it's Harry that holds us all together.
You know what? Maybe it is. I don't know. I've got so many different banks on there now. Do the people really want me to find it?
No. Half price whirly bars at Asda, though. Come on.
Half price whirly bars, still not as good as dreamy bars from Aldi, though.
Shut up. No one gives a crap about your dreamy bars, mate. Bugger off. Also, every time I dance, folks, with my hands in the air, my hands get compared to croissants, and Kirsty takes the mickey out of me. So I refuse to dance with my fists clenched croissant hands.
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense, but also it's really funny.
The claw.
The claw.
It's a very visual reference for a podcast. Check it out on YouTube.
Oh, boy. I'm exhausted. Maybe it is Harry that keeps us together.
Maybe. That's a terrifying thought if it is Harry.
Do we want to, one day late, run through those April Patreon birthdays?
Yes. Yes, sorry for forgetting. We've also just had a massive technical difficulty. My camera and computer just died halfway through. Great. So happy birthday to those in April. Sorry it's late. Happy birthday to Croatia and Iceland. It's a great name. 2nd of April. Great name. Happy birthday to Amanda, April the 9th. Happy birthday to Ryan B for April the 19th. Happy birthday to Rylan Ziegler, sorry, April the 23rd. Happy birthday to Bleak Lambert, also on April the 23rd. And happy birthday to Caleb Richard on April the 27th. A lovely list of birthdays. And I promise we'll try to remember for May.
Yeah, sorry about that. One day. Give us one day. 1st of May.
One day.
One day. Right, I think that will do it for whatever this episode has been. Sam, if you wouldn't mind getting us out of here.
Yeah, God, this has been appalling. Apologies. We'll be better next time. Folks, we'll be back to do lots of reviews over the weekend for the Sprint Grand Prix and for the main Grand Prix. And then, of course, we will be all doing our power rankings on Monday as well. Join the Discord if you get involved as well. You'll get your submissions put in over on Sunday for the review. Check out Patreon. I promise you the content over there might be better than what this episode just was. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1. You can watch it on YouTube. Well, you can watch Ben on YouTube, not me. And we will see you later on in the week. Thanks for listening. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
And I've been Ben Hocking. And remember, keep breaking late.